Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. As I've just been announced, I'm in charge of market development. And so one of the big questions I knew I'd get asked is exactly that: why MasterCard? So I'll definitely discuss that in a second. But just some opening comments. I'm really pleased at some of the themes we're hearing. Evolutions of the smart city concepts, partnership. And dare I say, my overarching theme today is going to be around, private-public partnership, not just partnership within governments. So very encouraging to be here. So I'm the novice. I'm the novice to the smart cities concept. Certainly, this is a topic that my company has been sort of engaged in, I would say, really over the last few years. But it's something that we're getting quite passionate about. So what is MasterCard? Well, we're not a credit card company, no. We don't issue credit. We don't manage savings accounts. What we are, we're a technology company in the payments business, all right? So it's very different from the piece of plastic you carry in your wallet, and that's actually very true of our competitors as well. We're technology companies. And our role in society is essentially to connect consumers, to connect businesses, to connect financial institutions, governments, payments between businesses, payments between consumers, so that essentially financial transactions, the wheels of commerce, roll. So we process billions and billions of transactions a year. We do it at a worldwide level, we do it at a regional level, at a national level. And so that's very much what we're interested in around this concept of smart cities. How can we bring our technology to bear and support this agenda, and certainly the priorities that have been brought on the table before me? So for us, it has to be a business case, right? We have shareholders we're answerable to. And so for smart cities, it is actually very interesting. We've already talked a little bit about some facts and figures. What we get excited about is the size of cities, the economic powerhouse of cities, not just their inhabitants, not just the citizens of a city, but the cities themselves. So when you look at sort of 50% of the world's population living in cities, we talk about the urbanization factor. In the EU, that's a 70%, factor of the urbanization of the EU population. When we look at sort of the challenges that cities are facing, aging infrastructure, congestion, how to manage sort of the growing demographic of populations, and most importantly, and this was alluded to earlier, the budget constraints, not just at a national level, but certainly even more so at a city level. So we feel that there's definitely a solution and a role that we can play, small as it is, in helping cities really understand how they can become more efficient around the concept of payments. And so when we look at, how much do cities, across the globe sort of generate? What's their powerhouse? What's the investment size that they have? Depending on who you talk to, the stats that I'm going to quote today is $2 trillion in investment power that cities have globally. This is not some small little group or isolated entity, but for us it's a real opportunity to understand how can we help in terms of playing in this environment. And of course, for us, healthy economies mean growing economies, and helping people sort of move up, the socioeconomic path is as critical to us yesterday as it will be in the future, just as it is for cities and governments. And cities are, of course, the number one place for job creation. And so for us, it isn't just about cities where we live, places of innovation, certainly centers of innovation, cultural centers, but it's really about how we're going to build sustainability for the future, for our economic and financial future. So we're a member of the Smart Cities Council, which I would sort of describe as a partnership between public and private entities. And there are many companies across the world who are very interested in sort of engaging with governments in talking about what it really means to sort of bring this partnership together of both public enterprise and private enterprise. And sustainability is absolutely key to all of that. And so, as I said, the elements around why we're interested in is, of course, how do we make payments easier and better? How do we make them more efficient? How do we make them safer for consumers? So for us, taking cash out of the system is pretty important, not only from the safety factor, but from the cost factor. There's a huge cost to cash. There's a huge cost to local governments to go and collect coins that are put into a parking meter. There's a huge cost of mailing out tax receipts in the UK. If you have to collect, quarterly property taxes, there's a huge mailing charge. There's a collection challenge. So there's so many opportunities which we see where we can sort of partner with local governments, with national governments, to sort of ease this element of efficiency and sort of certainly address revenue collection opportunities. And why? Because we're facing an opportunity where you are all not only consumers, you're citizens probably of a city, right? And you're connected people. No more than now have we been connected as a society. We live in the age of the Internet of Things, right? So the technology is arriving, and consumers have an expectation that we as a private enterprise compared to public as describing a governmental institution, we need to be coming together to sort of meet these growing expectations that consumers, that citizens definitely have. And for us, digital enablement within a city's environment is absolutely crucial, right? How do we make the life of an average consumer better? How do we improve the efficiency of moving money between various players? And more importantly, at the end of the day, how do we enhance that experience for that citizen and that consumer? And so there's this concept of smart payments, smart money that we're starting to talk about. The future really is all in your pockets or in your purses, all right? This is the thing, this is the little computer which we as individuals, we allow it almost to govern our lives. And so our view is this also becomes a very smart way in which, my old wallet of my plastic and my money is sort of replaced by this digital wallet. And there's a whole lot of aspects that will make my life as a consumer, as a city citizen easier, but also help the city. Help the city to understand, all right, so where is Jason Lane today and what's he doing? How does this help me in my transport management? There's a whole lot of data that's certainly available to cities to understand planning and whatnot. And a lot of that's actually embedded within the financial environment. Now, of course, data can be quite a scary concept. So, of course, we're talking about anonymized data. We're talking about data within the realm of our current governing data privacy laws here in Europe. But data is such a rich thing, and we believe that payments, smart payments, not only helps us as a company to deliver sort of solutions to that end consumer, but certainly partnering with governments at all levels is absolutely critical. And we talked a little bit earlier about some trials of smart cities, and I appreciate they're the big questions like energy and how do we reduce carbon footprint and whatnot. But then there's also the small elements of how do you actually increase the life and the experience of a consumer for when they get on a bus or a train, right? Do you need to sort of invest in expensive hardware of having an automated ticket dispenser there? Because actually technology has arrived where this is all the hardware you really need. And so we think going forward, partnering with cities and sort of getting this topic on the agenda, there are just going to be much more innovative ways of private and public partnership coming together that we can sort of change this. And a good thing, a few weeks ago we announced an initiative with Masabi, which is sort of a global ticketing platform, works, is aimed very much at sort of working within a city environment. What we've partnered with them on to provide to sort of cities is the payment facilitation. So how do you seamlessly collect the payment from the consumer and then provide it back to the entity in mind? So that's very much a good use case of how we see sort of partnering with cities as we move forward. So in summary, there's so much to sort of talk about in this space, but partnership is key, not just the public partnership and certainly this integrated approach that some of you have been calling for across various levels of government, but also inviting business to come and have a seat at the table, and also ensuring that we can not only have a voice, but also have a voice where we can sort of go back, sort of make the business case certainly to my management, about why this is important, what's the social benefit. Because ultimately, when we do well, everyone does well in terms of we do well as a society, everyone is going to be much happier as a society. And we have a sort of a mantra in our business, which is we want to do well while doing good as well. And so that's sort of very much the stake that we sort of are wanting to take here. And look forward to some interesting dialogue as we move into Q&A. So thank you very much.